You may have seen my recent video where I showed how to use the formula for estimating how much you need to retire. In this video, I'm going to provide ways that you can improve the results you can get when using that formula for estimating how much you need to retire. Because, well, you may have gone through that process that I had in the video and seen that you need way more than you have saved for retirement. If you haven't seen that video, you can watch it. I'll put a link to it here and also in the description underneath the video. So make sure you take a look at that. Now, let me say that the retirement formula is simple, yet most people aren't aware of it at all, or they've been led to believe that estimating how much you need to retire is way more complicated than it really is. Now, let me go a little bit deeper and say that's because this formula has a lot of research behind it. It's based on something called Monte Carlo simulation that estimates the probability of running out of money, assuming 30 years of living in retirement. And that's based on a portfolio that's invested in a traditional stock and bond portfolio. That sounds really complicated, and it is complicated. That's a lot of statistical data. But what it came up with, the result of all this complication, is a simple formula that we can all use as a foundation to estimate how much you need to retire. And once you have that estimate, you can tweak it, and do I dare say you can improve it? This is exactly what I do in my How to Retire program, and it's about how to fund your desired lifestyle and retire whenever you want. So let's dig a little bit deeper and let's look at each part of the retirement formula to see how it can be improved. Let's review the formula for how much you need to retire, and then let's look at each part of it to see what can be done. You can see what resonates with you and your own financial situation. Okay, so the formula is expenses, less income streams, and remember that's Social Security or any other kind of income you have that's outside of your investment account. And then that equals the amount that you need from your retirement savings, and then you divide that by the retirement withdrawal rate that you've chosen to use. In the example, I used 4%. I've done another entire video about the risk associated with using that 4% and really the whole formula in general. So make sure you take a look at that. And then that gives you the estimate, though, for about how much you need to retire. Now, as you can see, there are many variables that cannot possibly be known in this formula, including how long you'll live. We just can't know that for sure. Inflation is another variable, and future investment returns is yet another variable. So there's a lot behind the formula. Even though it's simple, there's a lot behind it that's a lot more complex. But you can still use this formula and use it as a foundation for estimating how much you need to retire and guide you as you save for retirement. Or if you're already retired, you can take away a couple of nuggets, hopefully, or you can share your own successes or challenges in the comments section under the video. So let's look at each section then. The first part is expenses. Almost everyone can find a way to lower expenses unless they have been living the most frugal lifestyle for years. And I know some of my viewers post in the comments that they have been. And so this isn't you. I know you've already gotten your expenses under control and they are very, very low. But most of us haven't. In fact, I posted recently in a Facebook group I'm in, a retirement Facebook group. I wanted to lower our cable bill, our TV bill. It just seems so expensive. And there were several people that commented, oh, I need to do this too. I'm paying, $200-300 for my, television watching. And so I know that this is something that everyone can benefit from. Plus, in my work as a financial coach, this is part of what we do. I want to mention that when I did look at that reduction for the TV cable bill, I was able to reduce it significantly. And I've also recently reduced significantly our tax preparation bill. So these are just examples. Almost everybody can lower their expenses. I've done an entire video on reducing expenses without great sacrifice. So you can take a look at that there, and I'll put a link in the description under the video. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time there because I'm really more about trying to improve investment returns and or generating income streams than I am about cutting expenses to the bone, because I think that we sacrifice some lifestyle things when we give up travel and other things that we enjoy doing. They cost money. So let's move on to number 2 in the formula, and that is income. So yeah, generate some form of income outside of your retirement account. So for example, if you create an income stream that's $1,700, that's like you've saved another around $500,000, just over $500,000. I've done another entire video on this. I'll put a link in the description. You can watch it here. But the impact of something like this is huge, of generating some other kind of income stream, because that's part of the formula, right? It can significantly reduce the amount of money that you need to retire. And that means you can also, when you have that income coming in, you can reduce how much you need to withdraw. There are all kinds of benefits. Fulfillment, there can be tax benefits. There's so many different things you can do. So make sure you check out that video. And I'm sometimes asked when I mention this formula I came up with the $1,700 a month equating to like withdrawing 4% on another $500,000. I'm sometimes asked, well, what could I do to generate income? There are hundreds of ways to generate income. There are thousands of YouTube videos on the many ways you can generate income. Everything from working part-time to consulting to starting a YouTube channel to creating a website. There's so many different things you can do now. I love that we can witness this from the younger generations of how they really, really embrace this and are running with it. And I want to mention that Silver Owl Thrifter left a comment under this video, the retirement formula video, I believe it was. And I looked at her channel. I was super curious. Silver Owl Thrifter. And she teaches people how to generate income by purchasing items at thrift stores and selling them on eBay, which sounds very fun to me. In fact, I have a family member that does that as well. So that's another example. There are a lot of different ways that you can generate income. Now remember, this is outside of your retirement earnings, so normal sort of investment account earnings. Okay. The next area we're going to look to improve the results of how much you need to retire, or lower. What we're looking to do is lower the amount that you need to retire, right? And maintain your standard of living. That's what it's all about. Okay, so the next area that we'll look at in the formula is the retirement withdrawal rate. This one is tricky, and it can even be risky, as I've explained in another video that I did. You can watch it up here. I'll put a link in the description. But I did, however, increase the amount that we're planning on withdrawing. I'll explain this later in this video and why I did it and how I went about doing it. Okay, so let me get back to you and say, how can you increase the percent that you're planning on withdrawing from your retirement account? Really, the bottom line is you can do it by increasing the investment returns on an ongoing basis. Now, on an ongoing basis is a really important part of that sentence, because we all know we can have great investment returns for a short time and then it can go down. Anybody that's been investing for any length of time knows that. I certainly know that. So this has to be an ongoing situation where you've increased your investment returns and you feel confident that, and it makes sense and it's logical, that those higher investment returns will continue. Because, well, remember, the formula is based on investment returns for traditional stock and bond portfolios. This means that if you can improve investment returns ongoing, you can probably increase the amount of money that you're withdrawing. Think about it this way. This is a little bit of a twist in how you look at it. It's a shift that I really like, and it really helped me. If you could consistently earn the amount that you're withdrawing, the principal in your account would be left intact, which isn't really necessary for most people unless they have a dependent that they need to leave money to. So just think, if you are withdrawing 4%, we'll stick with that example, and let's say it's increased to 6% because of inflation, you're a few years into retirement. Then if you can earn that much on your portfolio, you're not really affecting the principal. So think of it in that way. A lot of people don't give that much attention to getting the best investment return that they can. And this is super important. If you can increase your investment return, it sounds silly to even say it. It's so obvious. Yet most people don't really focus on increasing that investment return, and it might sound impossible. So when you think of it as in that way where it's like, okay, if I can only withdraw my investment return, if I can increase that return and only withdraw that, then I can leave that principal. But then when you see for sure you've got enough to retire, maybe when you're a little older, or you feel a little better, or you've done well with your investment returns, then you can increase more. So when you think of it in that way, you can be more comfortable when you are withdrawing from your principal. I've done another video where I talk about the risk of overestimating the amount that you'll be able to withdraw in retirement. I'll put a link in the description. You can watch that video here. I mentioned that I would share why and how I increase the percent that we're planning on withdrawing when we're living off of our retirement savings. And I did that based on using a strategy for investing that I can look at back-tested investment returns over the past 4 to 5 decades. So I could look and see, okay, this strategy had this return when interest rates are rising, or when we had a bear market, or in the first decades of the 2000s, which was a nightmare for retirees. I can look and see how this strategy did then, and I can make a reasonable assumption, I think, that going forward it will have a similar result. And so I took that and then I reduced it significantly. I actually knocked it down by more than 50% and said, okay, if this is how it performed in the past, on average, I'm going to say, what if it does less than half of that, about 40% of that? And that's the number I'll use, because I'm very conservative in my investing and my estimates when it comes to finances. I've explained this more in my Allocate Smartly review, where I explain how I rotate into asset classes for free, just using ETFs. So that's how this strategy works. And it was developed by a professional. It's not something that I developed, and I just implement it with those ETFs. So you can watch that video. I am an affiliate with Allocate Smartly. I've got 2 companies I'm an affiliate for, financial companies that I'm an affiliate for, rather. And that's because I like these products and I use both of them. So that is how I make a decision to become an affiliate. All right, but I needed to tell you that. Okay, so remember, retire certain.